Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now recently the good people at Wuben had done a Kickstarter for the X2 Pro, and that Kickstarter campaign really worked and it has come to fruition, and these are now available. Now normally I will have had these for a good couple of weeks and had a play around with them, and these have just arrived. I don't usually do super first impressions, but I really wanted to do something different and I thought we'd have a look at these. Now I haven't even opened these, so some of the things or some of the details today I'm just going to leave across the bottom here, because usually I'll have made some notes which I haven't made today. So this really will be a first impression on what I think of these and how easy it is for the UI to be able to work on these, because again I've not used the UI, so it'll be interesting to see how easy it is to learn or how easy it is to figure out. There's a slight caveat on that. If it is that I miss something within the UI, editing this at a later date, I will just make sure I put some details down here. So let's have a look at the Wuben X2 Pro, and I also brought the X2 with me as well, so we can have a bit of a comparison between these awesome lights as well. Now Wuben were good enough to send me two. Now that's not because they were like, hey, we're just going to send you two. That's because there are two different versions that we have here. This one on the left hand side, this is the UV version. This one on the right hand side, this is the RGB version. But otherwise, essentially after that, they are both pretty much the same. Oh. Now, as I mentioned, so I haven't opened these. I have to open these. Now inside the box itself, which I do quite like the opening to these, I will say with Wuben that the unboxing process is definitely a nice one. It has a very high-end Apple-esque kind of feel to it. So I'll open this one quickly. On the inside you have a charger. There is, what is this? This is, oh, I'm unsure what that bit is. I'll have to leave a note at whatever that is. And then you have a small lanyard itself. And then here is the light itself. So this is, which one is this one? This is the, we don't know, do we? This is the UV version. And then we also have on this side, so this is the other version. Open you up, and this one is in black, which should hopefully help me to remember it a little bit better. So UV is white, black is the RGB version. Now just for a second, here is, so these are the X2 Pro and this is the original X2. So putting them next to each other, you can see that they are a similar size. With the X2, the lights on the end here, you just have these three LEDs and this single button, which also acts as a dust cover for the charging port. This is generally how it operates. It's just that one singular button. The battery on the bottom, this is within a compartment here that can't be removed, whereas these, I believe, you can remove them on here. Now, as I mentioned, just that extra, just to click on that caveat again, is that this is the first time that I've opened these. I have not opened these before, so what we're seeing today is genuinely my first impressions of how these lights are. Now weight-wise, I'd say they're great. I will leave the exact weights here on the bottom. Tell you what, let's get these out of the way so that they don't confuse the camera. Weight-wise, they feel just about right for EDC. One of the big differences with these is, so you have a magnetic bottom on the here, but it also means that you can take, you can replace the batteries in these if you need to. They are both chargeable. Yeah, so here on the side there is the USB Type-C charging port. The difference with this one, rather than having a dust cover that closes over the charging port, you just have these little rubber buds bungs, which are fairly common. You kind of push these in and they sit over the charging ports. They are, I mean, you might knock those out, but you know, only time will tell with that. But they're just kind of in there. Whereas down here on the bottom, this is the door to be able to get into the battery compartment. So at the moment they are both locked. You can push these forward, and then do you lift that? No, push. Oh yeah, that was easy enough. Okay, that was a good thing. I would have probably tried to use those without taking the little bits off. So as soon as you get them, you just need to make sure that you take the little plastic bits out, as you do with a lot of other ones. Let's close that one for a second. The batteries that come in here, let's make sure so they're both positive and in. These are 920 milliamp hour batteries, and they look to be the same size as AA batteries. So that means that if you're caught short and you need to replace some batteries, then you can put some AA batteries in there. Or if you have some other rechargeable batteries and you need to do hot swaps, because you need to know that you can change your batteries reliably as quickly as possible, because you don't have the time to be able to charge them, that you can, so you can easily pop those out. So yeah, you press down on here rather than pulling this up, and that will open that up. But to make sure that it's nice and secure, there is a lock on here that you slide down, and now, yeah, they won't pop open. You do still have a pocket clip on here, which is fairly similar. Oh, I guess it's a little bit similar. I do like the pocket clips on here. They are reasonably tough. They are only one-way pocket clips, so if you, well, depending on how you sit this, but rather than it being tip down or tip up, it is tip up, I guess, or light up. The aesthetics of these are one of the things that I do really like about Wuben lights. They're just completely different to any other light that's out there on the market. I mean, there are some more rectangular lights that are coming out, but the kind of futuristic industrial aesthetic that these lights have, and I believe that's really what I mean, that there are no other lights out on the market like these. They just look awesome. I could totally imagine seeing a Star Wars film or a future sci-fi film where somebody just repurposes this and turns it into a scanner or something like that, because of the futuristic look to these. They did send me both versions, or both colours, on purpose. They could have sent me both of them in white, but I wanted to have one in black and one in white, just so that you could see the differences between the two, and hopefully remembering, what was it, this was UV, oh, that's going to blow away, this was UV, and this was the RGB version. Now, using them, all of the UI is here on the side. You have this button that works in two manners. So you can press it, which will turn it on or off, and then when it's on, you can then cycle through different modes or different lumen levels. Sorry about that. I think it just picked up that piece that blew past me then for a second, didn't it? Apologies for how that was out of focus. But here on the side, so you have these two buttons, or at least one button on each of them, which you either press or you rotate for different modes or different lumen levels. They didn't turn on them, which made me remember that they do have locks on here. So there are, I'm guessing, one, yeah, of course. So when it's down here at the bottom, this is off or locked, and then they have two little icons. So one is a light pointing that way, which makes me assume that that will be for this light, and then one has a light pointing that way. So I guess if you push it all the way up, yeah, turn it on, then the end lights come on. If I put this in the halfway position and press this, then yes, those other lights come on, which I think is quite cool. Right, let's turn that one off for a second. So when this is on, so that flash then, now the UI on quite a few of Wuben's lights is, if it flashes and you turn this in one direction, that means that you're either at the lowest or the highest that it can go. So yeah, it is. So if I turn this the other way, you'll see that'll get lighter and then it'll flash, which makes me realise then that this is the lightest that it'll go. So I quite like that. Press it again, it turns off. If I do a double press, so whilst it's on, let's see if this one's the same. So now this one's coming on with that light. So when I do this one, that one scrolls around. Let's look at this one just for a second, because it does look like that's coming from a different emitter, because there are two of them here on the front. So when this is on, you can do a double press, and that will put it onto its highest mode, or the turbo mode, and it will remember that it was on the low mode before, because we turn it around and it will flash. To do a long press. Yes, so if I do a long press now, you can see it's moved from the emitter here on the right hand side to the emitter here on this side. This has to be the UV, yes, so that is the UV version, the UV light on there. I'm guessing, yeah, so with UV generally it just tends to be on or off. There's no different light levels with those. So if you what was it? It was a long press. It was a long press. So if you do a long press, that will then cycle between those. If I do a long press and put it on here and turn it off, it will remember that it was on the UV mode before, which I think is great. Now this one, so this is the one that's on the right hand side that was on, left hand side. So if I put that on and then do a long press, that will turn it on to, I guess that's the lowest. It is the lowest. So I can do a double press, that'll put it on its highest, or I can do that and it will scroll. Whereas with this one, so if I do a long press, it puts it back onto this left-hand emitter, and by turning through these, this is because this is the RGB version, so we've got green, we've got blue, green, yellow, amber, yeah, so I quite like that. I like that function. I think that works really well. And hopefully, as you'll have noticed, by me just randomly being able to press these, it's not a particularly difficult UI to be able to work out either. Again, there may be a slight caveat that at this point I haven't been through the instructions. This is just me completely raw dogging it. So if there are any bits that I've missed on here, I'll make sure that I've added them here at the bottom as well. Now the other one was the main light here on the end. So let's go back to the UV version, so I can press this, which turns this on. Now I do remember that this has a floodlight and a spotlight. What does this do? Okay, that's cool. I like how they've done that. Right, so here on the end, what we have is this has a TIR lens on the end here with the LED behind it. This one has an orange peel reflector on there. So this must be the spotlight and this must be the floodlight. So when I turn that on, as it stands, it is in pure spotlight mode with the only LED here on the right hand side on. If I turn this, okay, so I know now that that's the only mode to turn it in that direction. If I turn it in the opposite direction, these lights, there's two LEDs here in the middle that have now turned on. And if I do it again, now all four of the LEDs, so we have the floodlight turned on, these two additional LEDs, and the spotlight turned on. If I keep turning it, now the spotlight LED, these two additional ones in the middle, and the floodlight is on. And if I turn it down again, now we've just got the floodlight here on the end. I quite like that. So you can cycle through the functions. Oh, I got that the wrong way around. So if you wanted all of them on, then you can cycle until you get to that part. If I turn this off and back on again, it does, it remembers that. So if I do the same with this one, turn it on, so now we're on just flood. If I turn this round, now the one's in the middle, now the one on the right, that's turned off, these are turned off, and it's just the one on the right. So if I turn it off, it'll remember that. That's cool. I like that. Does it do a double press? That turns everything on. Oh, okay. So if you do a double press on the side, does it start with that? No, it doesn't. So if I'm just on the floodlight at the moment and I do a double press, it turns everything on. Now, if I use the jog dial, so that's almost like turbo. So you do, whilst it's on, you do a double press for turbo, it turns everything on. But then when you use the jog dial to go up and down, because now all of the LEDs are on the front are turned on, it's now using all four of them to go up and down. Can I do double click again? It will put me back into the previous mode. Double click again, it goes back to turbo. Is there a triple click? Let's try. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, so there isn't a triple click. I can't find that there's a strobe on here, but again, if I find that there's a strobe, I will leave it down here. Not a difficult UI. Generally, I quite like it. I like the fact that you've got this dual function on here. The The RGB version clearly has more when it's in this kind of secondary function, whereas the long press will then put it back into the function where you're using this LED on the side. One of the things that I've not mentioned so far is that this LED does rotate. So there is a, how does it rotate? I'm sure it rotates. Oh, it does. Yeah, of course it does. So there is a magnet here on the bottom. So if you want to magnetize this to something you can't get exactly the right angle, you can rotate this round. I'm guessing that's probably about maybe 30, 40 degrees worth of rotation, 15 degrees that way, 15 degrees that way. So you can put it down on something and make it point down, or you can put it there and you make it point up, or you can have that coming out 90 degrees, or you can come out something coming straight from the end there. So there's plenty of different options in the ways in which these secondary lights, I'm just going to call these the secondary lights on the side for a second, how they work. And then with the primary lights, you've got this function where you can decide, so like at the moment we're on full flood, we're kind of on flood with some extra flood with the spotlight. And now we're just completely on spotlight, or you've got the turbo, which you can then fully dim those as well. I like it. It's not difficult, and I think that's the beauty of it. I was able to work all of that out myself. Now with some knowledge of flashlights and how Wuben are. Yeah, that bung has come out a little bit, a few times. I guess time will tell with that. The IP rating on these is reasonably high, so if that bung did come out, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, I really do like these. Now let's fast forward and let's go down to the pond tonight and let's see how these work. Well, the sun's down and the stars are absolutely stunning tonight. It's a very, very clear night. So we're going to go through the modes on here. I'm going to see if I can remember them from scratch from earlier. So using the side button or the side firing light, I can turn this on. Now what I thought is I've actually brought down just the RGB version, mainly because with the RGB version you've got those different coloured lights. Whereas with the UV version, it's exactly the same, but really in this kind of environment, we won't really see much from UV. So as it stands, we're on the side firing light. And is this the low? Yes, because I've turned it. It's flashed again to say that it is on low. Now I'll leave all of the lumen modes down at the bottom. The difference with a lot of these is that they kind of have a ramping system. So rather than being low, medium and high, you turn the wheel on the side. So at the moment we're on low, and then it just kind of ramps up until eventually we're now on high. Now for a high for this side firing one, let's put back down onto low. I can easily see, which the camera's struggling to see, maybe 4 or 5 meters ahead of me. If I was in a darker room, I'd definitely be able to see further than that. Starting to move these up so that we're on the full high, I can see. Now I can actually see, and hopefully you can see as well, we can see the ornamental waterfall that's there. Tree that's on the opposite side there's about 10 meters away. That tree's probably about 15, and then the far side we're looking at about maybe say 25 meters, and then in the middle we can even see the stalk in the middle. If I put this, oh, there's even a fish there in the water. You see it? No, probably not. Damn it. Anyway, where was I? Easily distracted. So if I put this back down onto the low mode, now you can kind of just see that tree on there. But when I'm on the side firing, I can do that long press, which will put it onto the RGB mode. And then when I scroll through this, then it just changes through the different settings. Now I think there is one that I found whilst I was playing with this at home. So if I put it on, let's put it on to red for now. If I do a double press while it's on the RGB mode, it then changes it into like a beacon mode, which I'm sure is useful, especially for this red light on the side. Now if I flick the lock down to the bottom, it'll turn off. If I push it all the way forward, we're now on the LEDs that fire from the end. Now, as it stands, and I just have to double check this. So as it stands, it is, let's check. Let's see if this flashes. No, I've gone the opposite way. No, I was the right way. Sorry about this. Right, so this is the spotlight. So being able to see over there, very easy to be able to see this, because with the spotlight and the LED and the spotlight, this having a TIR lens, it has a more defined hotspot in the middle there, being able to see around the pond, being able to see the little statue in the middle there, new sign that I've put up. It's very easy to be able to get the distance with this. Now when I turn it, it's now just turned on those two LEDs in the center, and so if I turn it back, hopefully you can see there's that warm spot in the middle. The two LEDs on the side have turned on. Now we've got the floodlight on as well. So if I turn this, keep turning it, that spotlight LED will turn off. And now we've just got floodlight. So with the floodlight on here, you can see that the spill is a lot larger with this, but the warm spot in the middle is a lot less defined, which is exactly the difference between a spotlight and a floodlight. Now with these, so when you turn it, and it will then eventually, it will go in the opposite, oh no, so I was doing that the wrong way. It'll eventually go in the opposite direction. So now we're back on spotlight, turn it again, eventually we'll go back onto floodlight. Now there was another option with this one, wasn't it? So was it a double press? Yes, so this now has all of those LEDs turned on. So you can definitely see that there's a hot spot there in the middle, and then you can see the spill over there as well. So this now has them all on. When I start to scroll with this, rather than changing how many LEDs are being used, at the moment all of the LEDs are being used at the brightest that those LEDs can be. And now when I start to scroll down, it's turning down the amount of energy that's going through them, and then the lumen levels, getting this back here so it's in front. Now it's just flashed, so this is on the lowest lumen level possible. So this is using all of them on the kind of the second function of the main lights here on the front. While it's on this, I can do a double press and it will put it back up to the turbo mode. Oh no, actually no, it didn't, did it? Hold on. Now it's on turbo, and then you can scroll this back down. If I do a double press, this will then put it onto the mode where it's either, so if you can see here, so this is firing out from the left hand side. I'm using the scroll light. Some of those LEDs are turning on in the middle. Now the LED on the right hand side has started to turn on, and you'll see the one on the left is now turned off, and the one in the middle is now turned off, and it's just the one that's on the right. So this currently is on the spotlight, and then roll it the other direction, we're now on the floodlight, and we got that flash to show that we're on that full side. Oh, just had some more fish here. See the fish? There's some beauties. Probably really annoyed that I'm filming in the dark right next to them, because it is quite late and they just wanted to have some sleep. Yeah, they are big ones. Anyway, where were we? So yeah, and then you can press it again, it'll turn it off, and you can swipe that wheel down and it'll put it on there. Yeah, really impressed with this. Now before we finish, there were a couple of additional things that Wuben sent to me. Now these are additional items, so you have to purchase these separately, but they're available as this is launched. The first one is that you have a small rubbery red diffuser which fits perfectly over the end, so that if you have the light that comes out forward from this, that you can use this. This is great for being able to see in the dark and preserving your night sight, or if you need to signal somebody so that you can again you can be seen. Super simple. I just shut that in my eyes. Super simple, and yeah, just kind of very simple solution. So I guess if you did go for the UV version like this, with the RGB version you already have a red light on there, so it's a good way that you can add some additional functionality to this. Now, as far as the UI is concerned, you can extend the UI with this small little wee tail switch. So with the tail switch here on the end, hopefully you'll be able to see that there's two grooves. So imagine the underside of a Glock with that accessory section. So if you open, let's unlock that first. If you open the end, this then has these two prongs that will then slide onto there, and then when you close that, that will then come behind these two little kind of, not really pins, but it's part of the body that they will slide behind. If you then lock it, that will lock that in place. So now if you have it so that it is unlocked and you have that front light on there, you get instant access to your light so that you can use it for looking around, you know, doing whatever it is that you need to do, and it's there in the end. If you want to take it off, super simple to take it off. You just need to make sure that you unlock it, which will then move it from these little pins that are on the end, which you can then slide it off, slide it back down, lock that into position, put it in your pocket. It's very easy to be able to get it on and off, but quite difficult to get it if you don't unlock that. Now, I do want to say a huge thank you to Wuben for sending these out to me. They did send these out to me free of charge, which again I'm grateful for, and hopefully with a kind of a warts and all first impressions of them, I've been able to review these kind of fairly. Now I have timed this perfectly because I believe they have a sale on at the moment. I forgot the name of the sale. I'll have to leave it here. I think it's the winter sale or something like that. But these are now live. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, these were part of a Kickstarter campaign. It was a successful campaign and it worked. You know, these are great lights, but they are now available to everybody. So I'll leave their links below so that you can see more from these lights and the other lights that Wuben has. I know we've seen this one, which is the X2 Pro, and we've also seen the X2 as part of that as well. So yes, again, a huge thank you to Wuben for sending these to me. I'll leave some of those links below. I'll leave some of my social media links below so that you can see more from me here on Moorlander EDC and my sister channel, Moorlander Tactical. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. There is a sale on with Wuben. Do you want to come past? don't worry about it. I allow people to walk on my land. It's only fair, but every now and again you get people that come across you and they just kind of freeze. Like, what do I do? And I always stop. And they're always like, oh, we're ever so sorry. It's like, there's no need to apologise. I'm not going to stop you from walking. I would hate to be one of those people that's like, I'm filming here, because that's just a bit twatty. So yeah, they seem a nice family. They're walking with a little daughter. Thumbnail time, maybe? Now where is it? I knew I put it in this pocket. This is the Wuben X2! X2! And the X2 Pro, which we'll have a look at in a second. Or we'll have just looked at, because me talking bollocks like this means that it'll be going in the bloopers. So you'll have just X2 Pro. You'll have just seen that bit.